In Russia, 36,000 women are beaten by their partners every day. One woman dies from domestic violence every 40 minutes. Abusers have enjoyed impunity in Russia for years. Beating up a family member only became a crime there in July 2016, when President Vladimir Putin introduced the concept of domestic abuse into the criminal code. But that law was only in place for 7 months. Isabel Young traveled to Russia to understand the country's rejection of women's rights.
Я на данный момент не живу одной страшно.
Why is that? What happened here?
Вроде сначала, как поженились, более-менее нормальные были отношения. Первое время-то он цветы дарил, конфеты. Родила дочку. Ну и вот началось потом на протяжении 20 лет. Избивал, руки, ноги ломал.
Gulnara Orlova was abused by her ex-husband for 20 years.
И это периодически, то есть в месяц по 2, по 3 раза могло быть.
She has a pin in her shoulder, a metal plate in her knee, and a broken bone in her skull that caused brain damage and left her deaf in one ear. Her husband once hacked her with an axe.
Весь двор в крови был.
So even with that solid evidence, the authorities still did nothing?
Нет, не сработало.
This is for 2016.
Это все материалы, вот все отказные. Это в течение 7 лет было в месяц по 5 раз, по 6 раз я писала.
Russian authorities dismissed Gulnara's complaints, saying there were no other witnesses.
Вот эта мама его обращалась, значит, с этим. Мама его ослепла после его избиения, получается.
Did you ever fear for your daughter's life?
Конечно, конечно. То, что я не могу собственного ребенка, собственного отца защитить, это, конечно.
Stories like Gulnara's led Vladimir Putin to criminalize domestic violence in July 2016. Under those laws, beatings by relatives were punishable by up to 360 hours of community service, a year of forced labour, or up to 2 years in prison. But that didn't last long. This February, just 7 months after those laws had been set, the government softened their stance on domestic abuse. First-time offenders, or those involved in non-life-threatening beatings, will now spend just 15 days in jail, complete just 120 hours of community service, or pay a fine of 30,000 rubles, the equivalent of $500.
Before these changes, any reported violence, even a very light one, had very, very bad future because a person should go to the jail. So what family?
Vitaly Milanov is one of the leading politicians behind this latest decriminalization.
It was a demand from society to remove this liberal point of view because this rudely involved government into your own bedroom, which is not good.
I mean, this move to decriminalize has been widely condemned internationally as a step back on Russia's human rights. It is counter-progressive.
By whom? By whom?
I mean,
by human rights organizations, by Amnesty International, by vegans, hipsters, lesbians, by socialists, anti-fascists, by whom? Not by the normal people. Normal people, normal families, they said, no, don't intrude into our families. Our family is our fortress. It was reported by the normal women that have a normal values in her life, not a liberal shit, you know.
Okay. The politician Yevgeny Roizman has said that there has been a sharp increase in domestic violence cases since this decriminalization.
This is a fake news, you know, because a man should be punished as well as a woman for any violence that happens.
Do you think that the increase of domestic violence is something that you're willing to risk with this decriminalization?
No. Increase of domestic violence is a sign of improper spiritual atmosphere in the society.
На сегодняшний день побои, в принципе, не являются преступлением в Российской Федерации. Такое вот на уровне мелкого хулиганства, на уровне неправильной парковки, примерно с таким же наказанием, кстати.
Murray Davitan is one of the lawyers who drafted the law against family violence that Putin passed last year. She says that Russia has always struggled with domestic abuse, and that even for the short period that the criminalization law was in effect, it was rarely applied.
Здесь, очевидно, была нужна государственная воля к принятию закона против домашнего насилия. На сегодняшний день пока вот ни у кого желания такого нет. Потому что вместо того, чтобы действительно эффективно работать в этой сфере, нам рассказывают про то, что мы должны традиционные семейные ценности поддерживать. Фактически подменяя понятие, потому что насилие не может быть ценностью.
What was the worst thing that he did to you?
Самый худший, мне эту женщину жалко, она же могла сейчас жить. Когда-то ранее приняли бы какие-то меры, человек был бы жив.
Gulnara's ex-husband was sent to prison in December 2015 after he beat a neighbor to death over his lost phone.
А сейчас, то есть, им вообще бандитам развязали руки совсем. 6 лет, через 6 лет он выйдет, и что у нас дальше будет, я вообще не понимаю. Вообще не представляю.